forward to the weekend. Liverpool men not in action. You can go and see Liverpool women on Sunday. They're playing Chelsea as well. 5:00, Prenton Park. Get yourself down. We'll do a little bit more on that towards the end. But Liverpool did play this week. We did get a game on against Ajax. So we're going to look a little bit at that, look at what was better, and a little bit of a look at the season so far as we go into this first international break. I think it is. It's probably second, maybe fifth. Who knows? The mad Andy. What is a season? To answer the question, what is a season? I've got Paul Johnson. I've got Phil Blundell. We've probably got Adam Smith joining us at some points as well. And I'll start with you, Phil. Tuesday night, it's been interesting reflecting on it. I've seen a lot of average positions and things like that, and a lot of things people talking about. What was different, certainly from the right-hand side, it did look like we were trying to do things a little bit differently on Wednesday night, maybe Tuesday night, with our structure, and it seemed to pay off.
Yeah, it did. I mean, we dominated the game, didn't we? We had 20-odd shots. They had 3. I mean, ironically, they probably should have scored with one of the 3 towards the end when Danny Blind. No, that's his dad. Daley Blind.
There's a lot of Blinds, isn't there? I feel like I've watched 3 generations of them. Which can't be right.
Like that stat, isn't it? About, was it Peter Shilton? There's 3 players who basically, Stanley Matthews, Peter Shilton, and somebody else who basically played in. One of the 3 of them's played in every league season since 1931 or something ridiculous. It's a bit like that with the Blind family, isn't it? But yeah, we dominated the game, which we haven't done much of. We created a fair few chances, which you felt we should have probably done better with and usually do it another day. And I got to half time and I sort of said to my brother next to me, it was nice to be able to say that we could be 4-0 up here, because it's not something you've said all season in terms of actually watching Liverpool and thought, well, we should be winning here. We played really well, and it was nice to, even though we weren't actually winning at the time, it was nice to be in a position to say we've done well enough to be out of this with a really positive result. I personally thought one of the biggest things we had was a bit more intensity and a bit more, the mindset just looked better to me. There was everything was a yard sharper, everything was a yard faster. There was a little bit more oomph about them, and it sounds really like slightly lazy, a little bit cliche, but they just looked like they wanted it a bit more to me than they have done in previous games. And that was nice to see that was the way that they decided there was a problem, and they'd fight to fix it.
Yeah, the fight intensity words used there, Paul, and that's what I saw really. It was a little bit back to basics, but not to sort of, cheapen that really. By back to basics, I mean back to what this team's good at, what this team is all about, and back to a little bit more of our identity as well.
If 100%, I think Phil said was spot on, and I think what we've all said that's been lacking for this season has been that normal, what you get as a you get it no matter what. You get the intensity, you get the passion, you get the energy, you get them backing each other up, and that's been lacking, hasn't it? And in some games it's been, we couldn't be further from the truth. So to get that back, even though, as you say, John, it's probably not a basic for all teams, but it is a basic for us, and we got that, and that did then, obviously, then result in a better performance. And like Phil said, we could have easily have been, we could have won that game 3 or 4-1 easily. But it was nice to get over the line. And, I think, it's always nice to get a last minute winner, and Big Joe with it is fantastic as well. But there was so much more, you walk out the ground feeling so much more positive, because, if you look at the Newcastle game and okay, Bournemouth was different, but the Newcastle game could have gone either way. It was, although we did have spells, they had their spells. When you walked out against Ajax, you felt like, it was the right result. The performance was good, and we deserved the result. So, that was great to get that. And it was a big 3 points we needed in the group to make sure, we wouldn't want to go 2 games and only have a point. So that was all good. So really pleasing.
Yeah, we do have Adam Smith now. Adam, I'll start you on a nice, gentle, easy one. Last minute winners are fun. Oh, we can't hear you. See, I thought it was easy, but never mind.
No, it is easy.
Hey!
It was my fault. It was me. Yeah. So, yeah, last minute winners are great. I forever and always have said that all goals should be scored after people have left to go and beat the traffic or whatever. Like if
quality control.
Yeah, exactly. If I could make the law, then that'd be sort of what I'd do. My ticket for the Newcastle game was upper main stand, which I'd never been in before, and didn't realise that basically, I because of my MS and everything else, couldn't really see the pitch properly and felt dizzy. So I left and missed the goal in that one. Which served me absolutely right, frankly. And then the Ajax one, fantastic. Not quite as dramatic, was it? Unfortunately, as the Newcastle one, but still pretty brilliant. Yeah, they're just great.
I think we will forgive you if you literally can't see what's going on. I think we'll let you off. And also dizziness is an excuse. It's nice though, isn't it, Phil? Because you listen. In the long term, winning by 3 or 4 is more beneficial. You're cutting out margins of error and things like that. But the fact that, as we're not flying at the moment, these late goals, I feel like we'll be giving them a lot. I thought the celebration was brilliant. I loved Thiago. I loved obviously Matip sort of going in, climbing all over them. Obviously the Carvalho one's great as well. And moments like this can bring a squad together, can't it? And now they've done it twice. It's something that will stick with them. Next time we go into a situation where we're 1-1.
Absolutely. I think what they get out of it is quite interesting, because I sort of felt like I thought Thiago's general behaviour was quite interesting. Not his actual performance on the pitch, which was fantastic. We might talk about that later, I don't know, but he was obviously brilliant. But it kind of felt like he's come in as sort of a bit of an alien to the problems, and that he hasn't been playing in this period where we've not been great. And he's seen from the outside almost that there's a bit of a mentality problem with them. Not necessarily that they but just a bit of negativity around them, and that they needed sort of lifting. And I thought a big part of what he was doing was he was getting the crowd bang up for it. There's a free kick that Luis Diaz wins with about just after we score, probably a minute or so after we score, and he basically picks him up and fronts him like he's going to headbutt him or something like that. Yeah. And he was doing all these things to try and just lift the mood. And it feels like they possibly did need the mood lifting, so that is almost better than it's probably almost better than winning 9-0 against Bournemouth in terms of what they get out of it, the real high. Because ultimately winning 9-0 is great, but you don't celebrate the 9th goal in the way you celebrate an 88th minute winner or a 98th minute winner. Do you feed off it and you get something from it, and it gives you a real sort of, you walk out the ground with a buzz that you just don't get from that 9-0, which sounds like I'm downplaying a 9-0, which I'm absolutely not doing. It's just different ways to come out the same thing. And I think they really did need something, and it might be that winning that way was better than sort of winning 3-0 and having an armchair ride through the second half.
Yeah, because I agree with that, Paul, in that you sensed with the team that they were getting a bit down about it, and I wouldn't quite say sort of feeling sorry for themselves, but there was doubts creeping into the mind. There was heavy legs, heavy minds, perhaps, really, and then something like that happens, and it does make you, as a player, but also as a squad, feel like anything's possible if they do. We know if we bring the right intensity, if we do the right things, if we play right till the final whistle, then the rewards are there for us.
Yeah, and again, what Phil was saying there about Thiago orchestrating the crowd, I think it's very easy to come out and pump the crowd up and get them going, but the crowd feeds off what's going on the pitch, doesn't it? And it was clear with Thiago, because he was playing so well, obviously the performance was better, then that does give you a lift. And as I say, when he did that to Diaz, it was quite close to where I was sitting in the Annie Road end, and all of a sudden I'm up pumping my fist like it, saying get in there, and literally he'd won a free kick. But when he went off, it was very visible. He walked off at the kind of ugly side, and then he had to walk right round, and he got a massive ovation round. So, I mean, and there's a lot's been said about Thiago and how crucial he is. And I think it's not just how he plays and how he can dictate the play for us, but how he can also do that. John, you've mentioned, he seemed to come in and give everyone a lift, both the crowd, the rest of the team, and also the performance then lifted as well. So we just need to wrap him up in absolute cotton wool. I'm so pleased he didn't get called up for the Spanish squad. I really am.
Well, there's more of that in part 2 or part 4. If you're listening as a podcast, we're going to talk about the internationals and who's going where and who's doing what and stuff like that. But yeah, a little bit of a spoiler there. Thiago's bouncing around the Baltic Quarter, taking arty pictures. That's what he's doing over the next 2 weeks, and hey, why not? I loved the little walk around Adam, because it made much more sense to go to the Anfield Road way, because that's where he was. But he was like, no, I'm going to go all the way round. I'm going to have a little chat to the cop and just say, come on, lads, keep going. It was like, I'm going to. You might have took me off, but I'm still going to try and make a difference here.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you? You want to get as much adoration and love and joy and everything else as you possibly can, won't you? You know, and
it's like you when you do all the what football means to me tweets. You know, you just try to pull it on.
Exactly. All I'm trying to do is just get people to praise me, and that's exactly what Thiago was doing. Fair to say, he got more praise than I ever get, but you know, it's not about that. It's not about that, John. And yeah, look, I don't blame him. I'd go the long way round as well. That's not true at all. I would not go the long way around because I get a stitch. Clearly, I'd go the shortest way possible, straight off, no messing around. But he's a significantly fitter man than I am, although same hair, so I'm taking that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, loads of comments on Thiago. Abdom is here saying Thiago took responsibility, which I think is an excellent word to use. And Clarence Worley saying Thiago is captain material. Who knows? Maybe you'll get it, but I mean, you can't have too many leaders on the pitch. Phil is what I would say, and he demonstrated leadership. You know, armband or not, sort of. You know, on there. I mean, you made the point before about the fact that. You know, he hasn't been involved as much recently, and I think you know that helped Matip as well. You know, for sort of coming in, they're not as sort of tainted by everything. You know, they haven't had the. You know, I'm sure. Listen, they'll have been frustrated watching because all players are. You know, no matter how the team's playing, but especially when they're struggling. But I thought for them to come in with all their experience and just be a bit. You know, lighter on the feet, I felt, both in terms of they've not had the games, but also, you know, they've not had the weight of everything. You could really tell that.
Yeah, and it works both ways, that as well, I think. I think it's not just from... It's them coming in as different. It's the teammates looking at them and going, well, hang on, he wasn't there last week when that bad thing happened. And it gives them a feeling of, oh, well, we can find our way out of it in different ways. Because, you know, let's be honest, it's not been great, has it? Previous week, so something needed to be different, and the easiest thing to make things different is just to bring great footballers in, and we're thankfully in a position where great footballers have come back and we've been able to change things that way. It's nice to have these players available, and if we can keep them available, then we really should be looking to kick out of this. And I think after, you know, they've all had a nice break and put the feet up, and the manager's been able to work out what to do over what is a mad period, the next 6 weeks of actual football. It should be. We should hopefully get ourselves into a nice position just before the World Cup starts.
Yeah, as we sort of reflect on this chunk of season as a whole, Paul, and look at it, look ahead. Do you think it is as simple as get as many as fit as possible and we know what we can do? Or do you think that there's other things that they need to be looking at that still weren't necessarily right against Ajax that you'd like to see more of when they do come back?
A bit of both, really, John. I think obviously you're getting that bench and squad as fully fit as possible is going to be huge, and I don't think you can underestimate, you know, how powerful that is. You know, I thought Jota played very well on Tuesday, and you know, having him back fit is going to be a brilliant option. Again, people are talking about Núñez, and you know, he didn't start, and I think, you know, they're going to be working with him, aren't they, as well? And that it's going to be one of those with him. I feel it's going to need time. You know, you look at Robertson. You know, everyone says about him when he came in, he didn't play for a good while, and then he got in, and then the place was his. I think that's going to be similar with Núñez. I do think he's going to need time. So there's a lot, but when you've got that full squad of and with the quality we've got playing with him, I think that will come. You know what I mean? I think it will come eventually, and I just think that when you've got all the quality around him and all the quality around the rest of your players, your performances are going to improve. The Ajax one now is, you know, a good little stepping stone, isn't it, to kick on from there? Because as you know, Phil and you alluded to, you know, we've got a very, very busy schedule coming up, and you know, we are going to need our squad. You know, you can't be expecting maybe Thiago, you know, to be playing, you know, Saturday, Wednesday, and Saturday, you know, 3 games in a week. So we are going to need to rely on the squad. So hopefully, getting a few back fit is going to have a massive bonus on that. And then also, you know, when you're playing football, we've watched it for years, and even when you play yourself, when you're in a role, or when you're in a good rut, as you say, performances do come easier. And I think that's hopefully what we're going to see. You know, we get back to the winning mentality, and also just knowing what it feels like to win. And as we've said before, a last minute winner probably is a better way to move on than if we'd have won 3 or 4-0 against Ajax, which again would have been nice. But I think the way you win it in the last minute, I think that's a good little stepping stone to go on from there.
Yeah, Adam, Paul mentioned Darwin Núñez there, and he's one who I think we'd have liked to have seen a little bit more of, both in terms of literally on the pitch, not being banned would have been good, but also sort of just, generally, I think. But I don't know, the speed to sort of decide on him, I don't know, really sort of baffles me. Again to reference Paul, there's talk about other players who we don't necessarily see for months, but obviously he comes in with a big target, so there's bigger expectation. But I found, and it's not just parts of our fan base really, it's worldwide. Someone here is good cop, bad cop, thoughts on the Diego Torres LP article about Darwin, and I did read that, and it was a journalist saying, it's already one of Klopp's biggest miscalculations, and I don't know what it just feels to me. I don't know what the speed is to judge. I don't feel like we've got enough information either way to decide whether he's worth 80 million quid or not.
I think it's fear, John. To be honest, I think it's fear that we've made a mistake. That's because look, I'm an idiot, and I don't know why. I don't know why you ask me on shows, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But in my amateur take on things, it feels like we have changed the way that we play a little bit to base it around a kind of more traditional number 9. And throughout Klopp's entire tenure, we've played with a false 9, basically. And it feels like we've shifted things now to try to accommodate Núñez. And what's happening is he's not A, on the pitch, as you say, but B, he's not banging in like a hat-trick every game like some fellas in other cities that are nearby. And so I think there's a fear amongst the fan base that, shit, if we bought a dud, basically. I think that's kind of the fear that some people are having. And I think... And I've had it a little bit, to be honest with you, when you see the ball bouncing off his foot and all that sort of thing. But when you look at the numbers, I think what's actually happening is that he's just trying too hard. He's getting into good positions. He's getting assists, goals, expected assists. They're all looking good. The actual stats on it all are totally fine. And I think that he's trying too hard, almost, especially, I guess, after the red card, where he feels like he's perhaps got to make something up to us for getting sent off and all that. And that's what I think's happening. And once he starts to relax and realise, that he's just part of the team and he's part of the squad and he doesn't need to worry about it. And also, to be fair, once some of the other lads that are there that are fit, so there isn't so much pressure on him. Now Jota's coming back, for example, it makes it a little bit easier. Once all that starts to happen, I think he'll start to calm down and he'll just start scoring goals. Because that performance he put in against us last season is one of the best performances by an away striker that I've seen at Anfield. He was unbelievable, and it wasn't. From what I understand about what he's been able to do, that wasn't just a one-off thing. So I think he'll start to relax. And I saw something the other day where somebody said, and I don't know who it is, so I can't credit them, but they said on Twitter basically that they think that that Haaland is the player for now, but Núñez is going to be the player for the long term, and I think that might well turn out to be true.
Phil, you're a sensible man. What have you made of all the Darwin Núñez discourse?
I always think with players there's a race to be the first one to say something, and in this instance it's the first one to decide he's not good enough and that the transfer's a flop and that Liverpool have done something wrong, and there's a real desire for people to go, well, look, I told you, I said this months ago, and I've never really got it, because what are you getting out of being right? But I think it's definitely a mindset that people have. Personally, I think you've seen signs there that there's something there, and ultimately, remember, he's not played a full 90 minutes yet. He's started twice. I think he's come on three times. It's not either way. It's not many. Like I thought Fulham away, I thought he came on. I thought he was great. I thought he provided. It was chaotic great, but I thought he provided a real outlet and he really got involved and he made us a better team on the day. And he looked like a person you can make a focal point of an attack, and that is, as you've said, not something that we've had for a very long time. We haven't really had an attack where it's got a central point that everyone feeds off. So it's going to take a period of adaptation. And when you've got a striker who needs to be adapted to and a team who look like they're trying to do something different and it's not going very well, it's like a perfect storm for this negativity to breed, and you've got to always blame someone for the negativity. It's never able to just be, that's just how it is. There's got to be a reason for it. And the reason in this instance is Darwin Núñez. And I just don't get it. I think a lot of what Adam says is right there about the trying too hard thing. I think that the chance he has where he flashes it just past the post second half the other night, he looked like he wants to be really precise with it and took it just right inside the bottom corner, when if he's a bit more confident and he's a bit more in the groove, he might just have absolutely webbed it and it goes straight in. It might have got blocked, it might have gone out for a corner, whatever, but he might have just done something a little bit different that when he was playing for Benfica, that's what he would have done, because that's how he knows that he can succeed. I think he'll be fine. I just think it might take a little bit of time, and he's not helped by being compared to Erling Haaland, really, is he? It's not helpful for anyone whatsoever.
Yeah, scoring a lot of goals, but plenty still to play for this season. We're going to take a little bit of a break now in terms of the studio. If you are enjoying this live, it'll just be 30 seconds or so, probably not even now. If you enjoyed it as a podcast, I'm now going to speak to Cheap Thrills, who are a Liverpool band, about their song Codependence being used on the LFC European kit launch. I'm also going to speak to Kieran Moran, who's an Irish musician who's just launched a new EP, and he's over here in Liverpool and London over the next week or so playing some songs, and then we're going to be back within this panel on Restream talking about the Reds and international break. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the show. Okay, we'll just go straight through. Yeah, fine to go. Yeah, cool. Okay, if you enjoyed all that as a podcast, I hope you enjoyed that. I do support those artists. They're all on all social media platforms, on all streaming platforms and everything. And yeah, try and get down to gigs, or just tell them that you like them. You've had a little listen. You heard them on the Anfield Wrap. You had a listen. You thought they were dead good. Because that's nice, isn't it? When you do something and people say it's good. It's always a nice thing to hear. Brightens up anyone's morning or afternoon. Okay, let's talk about international breaks. We're going to talk about who's going where. And we'll start with the forwards, and I'll start with you, Paul. And it's funny because you sort of want very different things from, all of them, really. With Mo Salah, I wish he wasn't going. I'd love to wrap him in cotton wool. Whereas, just before the break, we talked about Darwin Núñez, and I'd be doing nothing better than him going away and scoring a hat-trick. Josh is probably somewhere in between, in that he could use some games, but I wouldn't be desperate to see him play full games in all of them. Roberto Firmino is going away with Brazil, I checked before, which is quite interesting, because he's been in and out of squads as he's been in and out of form, I guess, over the last couple of years. But he is going away. But you wouldn't expect him sort of to play too much. And again, he's not one you'd class as overplayed, really. How are you looking at it in terms of a forward line and what you'd like to see over the next couple of weeks?
I think the main thing is, and we mentioned earlier on, didn't we, about we're getting back to having a squad that resembles one that is got a few more fit players in. So the international break, it always, for me, is always a bit of a headache. If I'm either watching games or if I'm not, and I'm checking on it later, I always do it with my eyes off shut, thinking, I don't want to I just don't want to see those other words, injured or whatever. So I honestly think, John, that there is two ways of looking at it, and you've sort of mentioned it already, that potentially it's a chance to get some minutes under. Like Jota obviously hasn't had many for us, so if he goes away and gets some minutes and he'll get back into a groove, then great. It's just always sort of it's next to the fact that you just want them to come back fully fit with no knock, so that they can kick on for us, because there's nothing worse than you just suddenly your bench is looking stronger, your squad's you're clicking into a bit of a gear, and then you lose maybe one or two with injuries. So you mentioned obviously Bobby. I think it was it was a bit of a surprise that he got called up, but fair play. I think Klopp has mentioned it in one of his press conferences. He said does he think he can get in a Brazil squad for the World Cup? Absolutely. And and I think again, someone might argue and say, do you want Bobby to be, playing to get to a World Cup? I always think that, if a player is trying to play the best he can to get spotted or to get into that World Cup squad, then that's going to only benefit your club. I wouldn't want to see anyone, resting themselves ready for the World Cup, but you can't do that. So I think if anyone goes away, again, like I said, I'll watch it with sort of my eyes half shut, hoping that they come back fit. It is opportunity to get some minutes in, and hopefully, a couple of them to maybe get a few goals, which might, get the confidence up again.
Yeah, in terms of the midfielders, Adam, Fabinho goes away when Brazil doesn't always start. They've got some midfielders. Thiago can't get in the Spain squad. They're I don't know. They just hatch midfielders in the fields of Real Madrid and Barcelona, don't they? So they've got about 1,000 to choose from, but no bad thing. Harvey Elliott will go away with England under 21s, so he'll sort of play a bit. But might be nice for him to have a kick about with some lads his age for once. To be honest with you, Adam, how are you looking at it from a midfield point of view?
Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing there is that Thiago's not going anywhere. That's really lovely. I think that's really nice, and I'd like him to just, I'm sure he's disappointed, but I'd like him to just never go anywhere again, other than just wherever he's supposed to on our Champions League things or whatever. Look, I don't know. Have we got any other midfielders? Like, could anybody be going anywhere? Like, is Henderson going away with England? Or England playing? I haven't got a clue.
England are playing twice. They've not picked Henderson. He is injured, but hopefully he'll be back with some.
Of course, he's injured. Of course, he's injured. Really,
everyone is. James Milner swerved it a while ago. Arthur doesn't get much of a look in. Maybe Arthur could spend the next 2 weeks literally shadowing Thiago.
If
we're saying that we need Arthur to come in and beat Thiago when he's not, maybe he needs to go method. Right. You're an actor, Adam. These.
I was just thinking that, there's a mirror game where you just go like that. You lift your hands up and the hand follow each other's hands and stuff. Yeah, just get them doing that around Melwood. Perfect. Shaping putting each other's boots on and things. That'd be really, that'd be great. I mean, I'll be honest, John, I'm going on an international break myself. So I'm going off to Greece for 10 nights. So I don't care what's happening, to be honest. And exactly like Paul says, as long as there's no injuries, that's all I'll be looking out for. I don't care about internationals the best of times, but when I'm going to be sat by a pool, I care even less. I can tell you that for nothing. No injuries, please. That's my begging.
I'll tell you what, Greece with Adam Smith sounds all right. Clarence Worley's asked his Katie going here since there was a little bit of confusion and then conspiracy when getting announced the squad and he was in there and people were sort of saying, what's going on here? Is he really injured and stuff like that? And sometimes they just sort of announce squads and then worry about who's fit afterwards. They're not the only country to do it. It's happened in the past where people have been and they like to sort of assess it and maybe give their star players, of which Keita is obviously one, as much time as possible. But there was never any chance of him going, and indeed he's not.
They did once break him though, didn't they? On an internet when they took him, they called him up for international duty when he was a bit dodgy. They played him and he was out for quite a while, so there was half me that was convinced they were just going to play him anyway, even if his legs didn't work.
Well, Roy Hodgson did that to Sturridge.
Yeah,
do you remember?
Yeah.
It's really. Have you read the Cy Hughes piece in the Athletic today, where it's really quite funny actually, where he basically says about how Keita was signed because he was considered to be really durable by the team, and I was reading that thinking, how did that? What's going on? Did we get a receipt for that, or what? Like, is it? Can we send to speak to trade description, or what's? I
don't think they were advertising him. To be fair, you know what I mean? I don't think Red Bull will put him in packaging saying durable midfielder here for sale. I don't think we can necessarily play him, anyone. But I've read half of Cy Hughes' thing. What I'd say is it's long. That would be my feedback. I'll read the rest later on. But I'm sure it is very good. I've always got an eye on times of games as much as anything, Phil, and also where people going. Like, you've got to watch Brazil, by the way. They love playing in a mouth gaff. And these Tuesday games that are basically Wednesday. But having a little bit of look, it feels like everyone's more or less committed to Friday, Tuesday this time, which gives us a little bit more time to get everyone back. We've got this private jet diddle that we do with Man City, where about 3 times a season we act like we're all mates, and Gabriel Jesus flies back with Fabinho or whoever. So I don't know. It looks like to me like they're all going to be in training Wednesday, and that'll be nice.
Well, the good news is Brazil are actually playing in France, for example.
I told you, you've got to keep an eye on them.
You see. The only one I've noticed, I've just seen Luis Diaz on Instagram in New York. I think Colombia are playing in New Jersey, a couple of games there. But most of the teams, like even Uruguay, appear to be playing in Austria and Slovakia. So it looks like most nations have been slightly sensible and thought, hang on, there's a World Cup in a few months. Let's try and not make our players unnecessarily travel to long distances. So thankfully, most of the players appear to be in Europe, and it doesn't appear to be a general problem. I mean, it's obviously I'd rather Diaz was in Europe, but at the same time he gets 6 weeks off while they're all going, so he's not too much of a problem. But it doesn't look like the days are important, but also the distance is a huge thing, and it looks like it's not too bad. I think some of the European teams have got 3 games, haven't they? Like, I'm pretty sure Scotland have got 3, so I'm quite glad that Robertson's not involved there. I think England have only got 2, though, haven't they? Yeah, it's Nations League, but I think Scotland ended up 1 behind because of their the World Cup qualifying situation with Ukraine.
Yeah.
They got knocked 1 out, so I think they're out of kilter with everybody else. So that's not something for us to, thankfully, that knocks on to the likes of England and whoever else we've got players with. I can't even think which European players we've got. It doesn't feel like we've come out of it too badly from the European Nations League point of view, short of Trent. And
he won't play every game, you wouldn't have thought.
To be honest, I would be surprised if he plays at all. He doesn't. I think he calls him up because he feels pressurised to, but just doesn't really know how to use him. And I think he'll take him to the World Cup, despite the fact I don't think he really wants to take him to the World Cup, and no one will win out of that. But yeah, we're probably in a better position international footballer wise than a lot of people at the minute, because we've just not got that many people going to the World Cup, I think.
Yeah, it is a funny one with Trent. I agree, Paul, that I feel like Southgate just picks him because he knows there'll be a load of drama, there'll be loads of questions, so I'll just pick him and not play him. I pick the right backs I want to play, and it sort of suits us.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Because I can't remember. It's someone, an ex-pro, tweeted like something saying, "Did the England squad get picked on completely nothing to do with form?" I mean, and you can argue, obviously, the likes of Tony, obviously he's playing well, so he's got in. But obviously, on Trent's performances for us, you would say that he probably didn't deserve to be in it. But again, I think it's mad because he'll go away, and whether he'll get much time, I don't think he will. I think Reece James seems to be his first choice, doesn't he? And long may it continue. From my point of view, obviously, I know Trent would want to represent his country in that, but it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, I think Verge is obviously going away as well. I think is he in the Dutch squad? So I think they've got a couple of Nations League games. But I can't emphasise enough, like I said, without sounding like a stuck record, I just don't want anyone to get injured. So fingers crossed, whether they've got 2 games. I think Phil's spot on with the fact that, they're not travelling great distances, the likes of the Brazilians and that, which is really good. So hopefully, we'll get this break on and just, there's nothing better than just getting back into, that Wednesday, as you say, John, when they've all flown back and you see the pictures of them training, and then it's ready for the game on a Saturday.
Yeah, let's all hope that is the case. Listen, we're going to leave it there. If you are keen to watch some live football, then I would encourage people to go to Prenton Park on Sunday. It's a 5 o'clock kickoff, not a 7 as originally listed. They've moved it to 5 o'clock. Tickets are still available. They're expecting a good crowd down there. They're expecting a record crowd for women's football at Prenton Park, which would be fantastic. But we'd love some more. It's going to be a really tough game against Chelsea. Chelsea are very, very, very good. And so anyone who could get down there and support Liverpool women will certainly help make that competitive. So I'd encourage people to get down there. As I say, tickets available on the club website. Very keenly priced as well, because we want to see as many people get down as the Liverpool women, go back into the Women's Super League. So people want to come along, we'll be in the Clipper for the pints a little bit before as well, and probably after, I'll be honest with you. We are the type. But yeah, come down, come and support that. I think that's everything. Thanks a lot to Paul, to Phil, and to Adam for joining us. And of course, Chief Phils and Kieran as well. Do support them. Up the Reds. Have a beautiful weekend.